enough.
Okay.
You haven't given enough privilege or rights, or
yeah, we're live. I
whatever it
think.
is.
I think we're live.
Ah, we are indeed. How wonderful! So here we're back again. This time, all the way from both Japan and Egypt. So as always, I'm very blessed to be talking about being a Source Bliss carrier. And as we just mentioned on Facebook, we've got this opportunity together to bring what being a Source Bliss carrier really is. Privilege or oh yeah, we're there. We're live and very, very happy. So I'm, I think in many ways, everybody who's naturally tuned in for Source, also at some point in their lives, they look for Source. They look for the templates or the blueprints or the access points or the path that they might head down to connect to Source, to be a bliss carrier. And, it's known by so many names. I mean, there are so many ways that we can connect to Source, the divine love, through a shared heart, through tantric practices, through all the awakening practices, through sleep and dream yoga, as we've mentioned. And just as you did the other week, he did that beautiful practice with Tara 13. So there's many names which the formless is known by, through which we can access Source. So I'm really curious, Hira. I was going to call you Tara. I'm curious, Tara, Hira.
Well, it is interesting because my name keeps changing all the time. And, some people, it really annoys them, including myself, because, it was the Hira, and then it changed into Hira. And then, so a lot of people know me from before as Hira. And then a lot of people say, yeah, but really, I know you since Hira, so I'm not going to change again into Hira, because before it was a different name again. So I'm like, yeah, just, I like Tara. You can call me Tara.
Tara's beautiful.
And that's one of these beautiful things, is that about being alive today. That's what I thought also about you, you and me connecting today. It was like, isn't that amazing? Because we used to really be part of like one lineage or one practice. And then of course, through that practice, we would have different lineages where we could tune into, but we would really stick with one lineage in a lifetime. Like you wouldn't be a Franciscan, monk like you are connected to, and then at the same time be a Tibetan monk, and it wouldn't be, possible in that sense. And now it's the first time, I mean, in this timeline where we're living in, that we're actually combining these, I'm combining practice of the Magdalene, I'm combining practice of the Tara, so many Egyptian lineages, like the Buddhist Zen, Soto Zen lineage, all these different, we're blending, and that's the most exciting for me, is that the fact that we're blending all these different lineages and all these different methods, and then extracting from that the essence, which is for me that, like, the essence is being a Source Bliss carrier. For me, it's not even like a bliss carrier in that sense, because bliss, of course, has to do with a lot of different lineages, but especially the, Tibetan Buddhists are, for example, are really focused on that. But if you could look at the Tao traditions, they're not so much into the bliss. They're like, it certainly should not get ecstatic or, blissful in that sense. The Taoists are like, no, just very down to earth. Like, how can we, use it, and how can we transform it? So for me, the source has to be there, like Source Bliss. For me, Source Bliss is something else than the bliss that Tara gives, or the bliss that, certain deities, certain dakinis or yidam, or, all these give. That for me, again, is a different type of bliss, right? And in the Tummo practices that I'm engaged in, they speak about 90 states of bliss. Not that I'm probably just, at the first stage, I'm not even at number 90. But I'm just saying, like, for me, Source Bliss is a sort of a not connected to any lineage. That's the whole point. It's like it's connected to Source, and so you can have it when you're looking at a tree. You can have it when you're just peacefully sitting with yourself. You can have it. It's not that blissful. If you get, I know you get what I mean, but
totally.
Yeah.
I get it. Well, that's one thing I'm aware of. I came into the world in a, like you mentioned, in a Carmelite tradition. So I came into the bliss through Jesus and Magdalene and Mother Mary and the archangels, right? So I was really born into that household, and I was trained by a Reverend Mother who kind of put me onto the centering prayer practice. Now the whole centering prayer practice, when you look at its origins, is based, it's very non-dual. It just basically says the way to source is you take one practice. So if you're listening to us now, you can do this, right? Consider what the core of your practice is, just like Hira is talking to now. What's the core, right? What actually helps you connect directly to source? So when I was a little kid, it was the Virgin Mary, partly because my godmother said, you're protected by Mary.
Yeah.
So I would just go straight there. So later on, in fact, many years later, when I came to all the tantric practices and doing deity yoga, in which you become Tara, then or become the Virgin Mary. Then you become that quality, you become that essence. And so I was sort of primed to do tantra, especially right from the word go, because I was under the auspices of my godmother. I was told to be under the protection of Mary. In other words, I was embraced by her as a little baby, and I always grew up with that feeling here, that I was surrounded by angels. So when I naturally saw them, when I had lots of experience with angelic beings in my life, and they literally manifested and other people could see them, it wasn't a surprise to me, because I'd been brought up doing, in much the same way as we do some mandala practice. From a very little boy, I was practicing with feeling, seeing, sensing the archangels around me. So that this, if you're listening, it's a really wonderful thing to try. Consider who the core essence, or what the core essence of your practice is. So this could be like Tara, for example, or like Mary, and then be that, really tune into that devotion, and put the lineages, just as Hira said so beautifully, we're open more and more today to the fact that we're connected with multiple lineages.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's this opportunity not to be part of just a single lineage, but to use the wisdom of those lineages that we've been brought up in, to then expand and actually embrace, so that the whole world embraces all the wisdom of all the lineages. I mean, wouldn't that be a wondrous thing if our religions didn't divide us, but in fact unified us, and if countries were no longer separate, but in fact united? I mean, that's what I think is at the heart of some of all these world troubles we see at the moment. Is I think there's a lot of us that are just quite sick and tired of seeing adults argue and talk about divisions and economics and politics. I mean, what is it? This is we're going way beyond that, and that's what many of the new templates. And I know you're starting to teach these, source templates that are actually speaking to the unity right across any. Oh, and I got some beautiful Dakini lights sparkling around me as I was talking, obviously sent by you here. So I was just thinking, oh, this is wonderful. We're in this magnificent company at the moment, where these wondrous beings are acknowledging that all of us are now wisdom carriers. All of you here listening are wisdom beings. You're source. You're carrying the source message. Oh, I got more beautiful bright lights. So there's a lot of nectar and love here at the moment. I'm really very present to it. It's very wonderful. Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious. You're tapping right into these source templates. So what do you uncover? What's sort of present, especially for you, in terms of this wisdom of this unity that's really speaking to people all over the planet?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm not teaching it yet. Like I have one friend that I always call her my oracle, and I always go like, I didn't see you for a few months, like let's make a session, and you tell me what's happening. And it's very interesting because she did say that I will start teaching this in 3 to 5 years. So for sure, you know, you don't know like how time is totally changing. It could be sooner, but yeah, it feels right that I will in 3 to 5 years, and not teaching in the sense of workshops or anything like that. It's more like the people will find me. So they will just, I don't know what magical ways, they will just find me and say, teach me that, you know, and then I will start teaching it in that sense, like more like a one-on-one or transmission type energy than, you know, I'm going to give a workshop and we're now going to bring out the original templates, but you never know. I'm open to whatever form it is. So for now, it's really work that I do alone. And it's very interesting because sometimes I come back from that work, I come home from that work, or I come back into my body from that work, and my body is, for example, sometimes very exhausted. And then I wonder, like, why is my body so exhausted after, you know, only doing that for a few hours? It's not days, it's just a few hours that I really. So I will first explain a little bit how I do it, and then in that sense, and I know you do the same, Stephen, like, you know, working with the central channel, but basically it's like, if you've never heard this before and you're just tuning into this conversation, then the central channel that we're talking about is like, sometimes it's depicted as this width, you know, in the school that I'm a member of, the School of Remembering, we say it's quite wide, but the Tibetan traditions say it's much more thinner, like this, like, but it doesn't really matter how you feel it, you know, if it's wide or thinner. But it really goes from the middle of the crown, like all the way down straight. It's a straight channel, you know, in front of the spine, down. And then a lot of traditions say it stops, you know, that the entry is at the Hara chakra, 4 finger width length of the navel. But in the tradition that I teach from the School of Remembering from Drunvalo, Melchizedek, we say that it's actually going longer, like it really goes from the perineum area and even longer, like out from the feet. So it's 1 hand length up and 1 hand length down from the feet. So it's quite long. And I like that because for me, it feels a bit like, why do we stop at the Hara, guys? You know, it's just like, just, you know, the
go
root
all the
is
way.
also very important.
The root is, yeah, totally. I'm with you on that, totally.
Yeah, but anyway, so when I work with the central channel and I really open myself instead of emptying that part of me, the core of my being, and I empty it, then I can connect to different energies. Like I know, Stephen, you can maybe tell us something about that, about how you connect to the dolphins and all kinds of things through that. But what I do is I go to different places, especially in Egypt now, to the Mount Moses, and there is a template there, like an original template that has been waiting for this time, millions of years. So this goes beyond, before the Magdalenes, before all the traditions, even before basically everything, before even Atlantis, before Lemuria. It's like, it's the original, and it's connected to what you can call the original architects of this reality, which again goes before this became a duality reality. So like if you look at like about 200,000 years ago, the earth was called Tara. Like she had a very different name, and it was, and we were like way beyond the consciousness we are now. And then slowly we started to, you know, some kind of dark forces came in, and the whole energy started to get more dense and more like, you know, like this, like dense, like we can touch things. Before it wasn't like that, it was much more energetic. But anyway, so these templates have been kind of built in originally in that design by us. Like we're the original architects of this reality. So
Totally.
Yeah, so they're basically waiting for pure hearts. This is the key. You have to, and this is why I'm so exhausted to finish what I'm saying. It's like the reason why I get exhausted is because the body is, I have of course accumulated so many negative programs through birth, through cultural belief systems, through, you know, just the family pain, to, you know, so many things. And I mean, I haven't had the most saint lives either, so very wild. So, you know, I've been collecting, and I've been, you know, so I've been accumulating that also in the physical body. So when I do that work, I really put myself in that state of pure being, where there is no more personality, there's no more I'm a mother. There's no more mother. I'm a wife. There's no more wife. I'm a teacher. There's no more teacher. There's just nobody. And I'm just saying to the universe, now use me as a vessel, as a source vessel. And then, yeah, then somehow this template comes through my body. So through the central channel, it comes through my body, and then I can actually see, feel, sense it like a light, like cities of light, temples of light. I literally can see them coming up, fourth dimensional, 5-dimensional, whatever name you want to give to it. But the reason why I feel so exhausted is because my body is not yet at the level where I can just say, original template, come through, you know, and then just, you know, I kind of hold it there, swim with it or fly with it. And also the human collective now is working against it. We have a high frequency part of the human collective. We have a lower frequency part of the collective. And that lower frequency part is almost 80% of the people on the planet now. So when I want to do my work, for sure, I'm guided, and I'm, you know, with friends like you, I'm you know, doing that work, but you can feel that there's still a lot of resistance, and I need to traverse that. I need to go through that still to be able to hold that frequency. And that feels sometimes a little alone, but then I call in the dragons, you know, usually it's the dragons that come. Just I open the portal and they just come in, and they're going everywhere, and I'm like, okay. And then when I come back, for sure, my body's like, okay, let's wait a few months before we do this again, because I need to integrate, you know, it's like, it's a lot of light, a lot of work. So,
I love that. I love that. And I'm totally with you on the dragons and the central channel, because a lot of the work that I'm doing, just like you know, is about bringing this light through. So curiously, you know, and I've noticed this, that I've got a lot of people coming to me for guidance into the dragon lineage, right? Into the Nagas or the dragon lineages, or the ancient practices, ancient serpent lineages, any of those traditions that are very ancient, that go right back to those origin or primordial times that you're talking about. And also you know, you mentioned about the architect. So in the Vedic terminology, or the Vedic systems, very ancient Vedic systems, the celestial architect was known as Vastra, and Vastra being us, being those of us that recognize that celestial blueprint or that celestial imprint. It's there literally. It was spoken about in the Vedas thousands and thousands of years ago. And so this real depth of what exactly that term you used, that was what Vastra was known as, the celestial architects. And they held the blueprint for humanity. And that blueprint is accessible. It's accessible through light. They're light blueprints. And I agree with you absolutely about the dragon. You know, many of us that actually worked with these, you know, blueprints, templates, were known as dragon riders, because we literally rode dragons of the light through the wind channels in the inner subtle energy body. That's why when people, a lot of the people I've got coming to me at the moment are talking about this reawakening of dragons appearing to them, you know, dragon consciousness, dragon energy. And they're wondering, they've got they come from really quite what I'd call normal, you know, intellectual doctors, lawyers, scientists, side of life, and yet they've got this out of the blue energy that's appearing to them. So like you, we can guide people into understanding, okay, what those energies are, how you work in the central channel. And I do agree with you. I love that what you said. Hey, look, it goes down further than the Hira. Yeah, I'm very present to that. I work with people, if they're used to working in the Hira to that level, then I get them anchored in that, but then allow them to open to the possibility that it might drop low, and then allow them to open to the possibility that, hey, we might be connected right down through the feet, right down to the core of the earth. Why is there a limit? You could, once you opened, and I think that's part of it. I think the initial energies, say, of Tantra or any inner fire, you know, Tumo, or any of the inner fire practices, Kriya Yoga and so on, are all designed to help people really bring those inner Kundalini and Shakti energies into the central channel. So I think they worked with that concentration first to allow people to actually center, to bring those energy, because they're quite powerful, as you know. I mean, I get a lot of people who've had awakening experiences, so I do a lot of guidance like you do with individuals, and a lot of people they have an awakening experience and they're not sure who to turn to. There's no directory of I've awakened, what do I do next, people necessarily. So they turn to different paths. And as you've said here, there's a real growing sense of our unity. So a lot of people I've got visiting me want access to the unity practices. Like you, I've been trained in a lot of different practices, all the way from, Zojum, Mahamudra Tantra, Kriya, and many of the, Taoist secret practices, and then all the way through to the Carmelite and mystical Christian practices, and then the ancient Egyptian traditions that I was part of in the, alchemical practices and traditions of going right back through the lineages of Saint Germain and deep into the practices of Horus and Isis and Hathor and Thoth, or Tahoe, as some people would pronounce. So there's this really deep lineage awareness that's and I'm so excited about this too, that there is a genuine awakening of our sense of unity, and that all these ancient wisdom, for example, if you're just speaking about the central channel, the Sushumna, and the different widths and so on, but even more, rich than the different widths is the fact that all these traditions are recognizing that there is a central channel. I always found that absolutely, that knocked me over, that when I realized that, whether I was talking and training in Yogananda's tradition of the central channel, or with the Dalai Lama or Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche and Mingyur Rinpoche, and central practice channel of the central channel, or the fire practices of one discipline or another, or even in many of so if you take the circular orbit practices of many of the Taoist alchemical traditions, there's a real deep knowledge of how that central channel worked and how you can work with these energies. And suddenly people are realizing, I almost used to get this image of all these ancient sages, in the times that you're talking about, in the very origin time, sitting together and saying, so there's kind of a little bit like the Buddha, there's different predispositions that this country is going to be more suitable to this because it's a hot country. A bit like what we were talking about at the beginning, that Egypt is hotter than Japan. So there's kind of a slightly different maybe reference point, or the sage from here went out to this part of the world and the other one went out to that. And that, so things evolved slightly differently because of, when you look at, say, Garib Dorje and in the Bon and Dzogchen traditions, how they merge some of the shamanic practices with ancient Tibetan practices and the ancient Hindu practice. So they actually that's why I love Tibetan Buddhism, because it's kind of like got my flavor of home, that there's a general acceptance of all these different practices, that at their heart they're very, very similar. So
but it also makes sense, because if you see, like in the time of Atlantis, for example, it was called the Nahakal, the Nahakal, and the Nahakal, like the high priests and the high priestesses and all the work they did there, and a lot of people, I think about 1,000 people reached immortality, like they're still here on the planet, like since 13,000 years, like they so then when that fell down in consciousness about 13,000 years ago, parts of it went to Tibet, and then parts of it went into Lake Titicaca, and parts of it went into Egypt, so these three parts, like when you look at it, like it all comes from the same Nahakal, like they come from the same tradition or source. Exactly. And then of course this is just Atlantis. Before that we had Lemuria, where again, like with Mount Shasta and everything, all these things that are happening there. So it's like, and I mean, what is that whole sense of unity? That's the whole sense of source, isn't it? It's like everything, And that's what makes it so beautiful. And that's why I'm so excited to live today. You know, and why I choose to come into a body as a woman today, like,
Right.
because I'm like, I can more easily tune into it. I think the body of a female body, or I think nowadays you say female body, because I'm a she, her, and I guess you are a him. What is it called?
Him, her.
But,
Yeah.
and him, her. No,
I like
no.
that kind of version.
Yeah, he,
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Him.
So
Yeah.
I'm, I'm trying to catch up with because it's very interesting. My daughter's 13, so she's like this, this. She's like, and then she's they them, and then she's like.
Yeah.
She's even a fish, and she's like, and her, her friend is gay, and this one is bi, and this one, they have all these, so they have all these choices, that they can choose from. But I didn't grow up that way, so I'm just saying that a female body, meaning like, a body of a woman, let's say, because I believe that the body of a woman is like more. It's more easy because we have the cycle, we have the birth, we can give children, we have that by nature already in the body. So in that sense, I'm like a yuppie. I don't, I don't need
I
to
agree.
be reincarnated
I
as a
agree.
man just to get my wisdom here. I can just,
Here, I agree, because I had, we were talking about lucid dream and the very short snippet leading up to this, and I had a lucid dream once as a woman giving birth, and I really realized, that deep creative process that's so naturally part of the cycles and the beauty and the evolution of a woman's life. I mean, it's really rich, and there's no doubt that because you're always present to the cycles of nature, tuning in with the full moons. The male body is to a certain extent, but not as much, and so that's where this real deep, sensitivity of the male for the female to really support each other, right? And this and to actually learn from the creative cycles of the woman. I do agree with you. The creative cycles of the female body should be part of everybody's learning at a very early age. So I was just thinking about, when you were talking about Atlantis and Lemuria, I mean, really what you're talking about there is, it speaks so to my heart that at a certain point on this planet, we were together, those 1,000 or so people that were really at the heart of that immortality and those source carriers. They really understood unity. And in fact, what's happening at the moment on our planet, we're starting to realize the United Nations and the Security Council are not that united and not that secure. That we've got to get beyond. What it's actually looking towards is there has to be a breakdown of these very old orders. Why are there why can't we go beyond nations and actually look at that sense of unity? And that's what source carrier. Why aren't there united source carrier, or united source, not nation? I mean, we've got to get beyond our boundaries and our divisions.
Well, and also I am starting to feel it, because the more that I'm doing this class with the Ainelia Benz. I love her. Like, she's an amazing being, and we did a class last time on the experiential telepathy. Experiential telepathy. And I realized, and that's what I talked to her about, that I've been doing that since I'm a child. And I really created my own language. That was really interesting, because I told her, sometimes I telepathically speak from my third eye, and then I see more geometrical shapes. That's also Larry, her mate, or how you say, her partner. Was talking about the geometrical shapes that with the Hathors,
and geometrics.
Exactly, you can tune into the Hathors and sound and shape. But sometimes I speak from my heart, like telepathically, and it will be more with kind of words, like kind of like a child, almost like very innocent, but also with a lot of imagery. And then sometimes I will speak with the lower, the Hara chakra, or the root chakra even. And then the telepathy is just like, vlam, like those chakras are, like very direct, very fiery, very, And of course, I know where to target. Like, I know most people wouldn't be able to handle it, but those people that I am telepathically connected to, they can handle it. And then we were talking about that. And then she said, yeah, but that's just your language. That's just how you have, from child on, you have developed telepathy through the different chakras, but it's just how you develop the language, because the other person is not going to receive it in that way. They're going to receive it in a different way. They're going to see, maybe when you send it from that chakra, they're going to receive geometrical patterns, because that's how they receive it. Yeah. So in that sense, what I see as a solution is that at a certain point, people will get so telepathically connected with each other that when the next war comes, or the next COVID comes, or whatever names they're going to give, or the next terrorist attack comes, or the whatever's, as long as it's connected to fear, that when the next fear wave comes, whatever it is, that telepathically we all understand, like, oh yeah, but they're just trying to divide and conquer. It's just again about control and fear. So that when we telepathically feel that and we all agree on it, well, what happens? It doesn't hit. It doesn't reach anywhere. It can't go anywhere, because we're all telepathically like a child, when a child plays with a toy, like, I don't know, you're super into this toy. And then after a while, the child drops the toy and does something else. That's really how it is. Like the next drama wave, and most of us will be like, oh yeah, nice try. Boring, and we'll just keep on going with our new Earth, our new Earth life.
Exactly.
And then it stops. So it's just like, that unity is already here. That Source Bliss is already here. That those carriers, that's us. We are, as a human, we are a Source Bliss carrier. Everyone is. It's just that you and me, we've been trained more. Literally, we're training day and night.
Totally. Day and night. And the languages that you're speaking to, again, going beyond United Nations, going into United Languages, is that what you're speaking to is, the symbolism and the patterns, and then the felt sense and the feelings and this directness. There is a way, and we're all aware of it, and it's starting to come through. If you look at some of our technologies like virtual reality and immersive realities and so on, it's actually giving us the opportunity, when it's used the right way, because it can equally be used in destructive ways, but when it's used the right way, it allows us to actually see and feel each other. We don't need to, again, have the separate languages because there were original primordial bliss or source carriers that could communicate telepathically. So we could feel, just like the language of dreams, we could actually feel into, and as we know, I, over long periods of time, I've been able to do lots of telepathic and communicative work with people in dreams, with animals, with extraterrestrials, with all kinds of pure realms and dimensions. And we have that ability. As you said, it's right here now. All we've got to do is drop the divisions. If we say, oh, you've got to have this translation and that thing. No, we actually got to, like you said, there's a sense of this innocence and childlikeness and this primordial nature of language itself and symbol itself, bliss syllables, light language, speaking right to the heart of geometric patterns, all of there's so many ways that we can communicate, and yet we've put in, look at where we've put our investment. We've put our investment in petroleum companies, in pharmaceutical companies, in war and military machines. What on earth have we done?
Yeah.
Imagine if we put it totally banks and big corporations,
financial debt, spiritual debt, like just debt. It's like it's true. It's and it's interesting how the light language that you mentioned it, because I read your post on Facebook. I love your posts on Facebook, so I always have a look, like, what's happening, what are you up to. So, and this post was about light language and how you met your wife and how you were very in love and you opened the portal together. It's a beautiful post also, and it reminded me of, yes, it's true that at a certain point this light language was opened up, and that I also started to make movements, like that I was like, feeling almost a little strange, and now I have, in my private sessions, people that want to wake that up, because they're like, I have no idea what I'm just standing in nature, and all of a sudden all these things come through and I start moving. What is it? Am I crazy? So it's like, it's something that is like, it's moving a lot of people. It's going,
Yeah.
light language is like, it's really hot right now. It's like, you know, it's like since 4 or 5 years, even people that are not spiritual or whatever, they're like, I have no idea what's coming through, but I just need to move, or I need to say something and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So it is coming through for sure, but that's why also we need so much drama, because the earth has already ascended. So she's just going to keep on going. There's no doubt about it. She's just going to go for it, and she's like, yeah, if you can't handle it, just, you know, this is it. You've had enough time. If you can't handle my vibration, you're off. Just bye bye. Go to another. You know. So she's going to go on and continue. So all these things are anyway happening, even if we don't go to a course or a workshop or a teacher or whatever. It's just naturally happening. So yeah, so that's really exciting about the time now. It's like, on one hand, I love the fact that I can go to any teacher. You go on Zoom, you have, it's amazing the access we have, like, you know, to the ancient teacher, when normally it would take seriously like 14 lifetimes before you would get to certain information. Now you just like, you find them online, you know. It's like amazing. So on that side, I'm like, I love the rainbow light teachings that I can access. But on the other hand, I also love the fact that we don't need to go through the mystery schools and the temples and everything to actually access it, because now it's available just through the heart. You don't need to study anymore. You just be in the moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. The I loved, you know, I was on a retreat recently with Mingyur Rinpoche, and he often talks about emptiness, the power of emptiness, and his definition of emptiness. Because for a lot of people, if you're listening, you know, you go, well, what's emptiness exactly? And he says it's the infinite potential of awareness to embrace everything. That the emptiness means that you're literally open to everything, and just as you're saying, it taps straight into that here, into that wisdom, that if you're literally open, then you are actually open to everything you're just open to what is natural and effortless and present for you right this moment. You don't need to access all those old ways, which in fact you've done many times before, if you're open, literally open to everything that's present. And I think, you know, when you're talking about the female energies, you know, especially, I think that's one of the, you know, when I think about oil and petroleum, right? It's all drilling. It's very masculine. When I think about military, it's all bombing and missiles. It's all very masculine. Even when I think about the pandemic and trying to force people to have jabs, it's all very masculine, right? It's very, you know, put that stuff in. Whereas what we need this shift into openness, into actually saying, there's an opportunity for humanity to be actually genuinely open. Open your heart. This is a very feminine, open, divine mother kind of, let's embrace every single being as us. We're, you know, I'm you, you're me. It's that really beautiful old presence that we recognize in every person. Because who are you experiencing the world through? your own perception, right? So everybody, anything that you perceive is just simply your perception. You perceive, we blame this country, that person, that neighbor, this, but in fact it's only your perception. It's your awareness through which you're interpreting, perceiving everything. And that, once you wake up to that fact, then you can wake up to the fact, oh, well, then I can be a mother. This is the whole feminine power. So I can be a mother to all. I can be a mother to every moment. And you start with your thoughts and your feelings, right? You start with being a mother to your own thoughts. You don't push away thoughts. And you don't grab onto them either. You just allow them, like you were saying, you just allow them to flower. Then your whole experience becomes like a garden. You're the mother for all your thoughts and feelings, all your perceptions. And once you learn how to be they're like your children. I mean, you're not going to push your children away, right? But we have certain thoughts and feelings where we go, oh, I don't want that thought, or I don't want to feel like that, or I don't want to see that. What if you were to embrace absolutely everything, which is the power of emptiness, really? What if you were to embrace then you would start to recognize that every single one of the people around you are, in fact, no less than Buddhas and Christs and Magdalens and Taras. They are actually really your own projections of your own essence of source. They are nothing other than source appearing to you. And you'd start to recognize that in every single moment. And every single moment would have that openness. And we'd have a whole different world. And we would have actually re-looked at all the ways we've set this planet up. Like you said, Mother Earth, Gaia is transcending. She is already on her way. And she's saying, I'm there. Where are you? Well, we're all with you, Mother Earth. We don't want missiles pounding your surface. We do not agree with that. We don't agree with any war, any military, nothing. That is out of the question totally.
I'm so happy that you're saying that, because of course, when first there was COVID and then the war, and then I'm like, okay, well, at least what the war did is that everybody's focused now on the war and not on COVID. So somehow we are shifting something. But so that's the let's say the advantage. But I was like, what can I do? Okay, so I did the Tara practice and everything. But basically what we can do is just that. It's just like, you just from your heart, like you go in your heart and you just feel like, I do not agree.
Yeah.
And if one person does that, it's already powerful. But if 1,000 or 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000, well, 1,000,000,000 we're not, but billion, if a billion of us, trillion, a billion of us do that, and I'm counting also the Dakinis and everyone.
Yes, no, I was going to say, you're right. There are definitely 1,000,000,000,000. I mean, one of the amazing things, right, about awareness is suddenly you realize we have not, because I think so. If you're listening to this and you feel like, oh, but I'm so alone, but I'm the only one in my neighborhood.
But I'm just me, and if I say I don't agree, blah blah blah, but it's not true. It's like if a lot of us are doing this, then we dictate reality. We create reality.
Absolutely. And we bring all those all those beings, all those masters, all of the protectors of the earth who are here and who are actually wanting us to recognize them. Once you start to open your awareness to the boundless, like you said, the 1,000,000,000,000 and more communities that are actually there in all the realms. I mean, physics is kind of opening its eyes to saying, oh, maybe there's 21 dimensions, or maybe there's 23, or well, there's a lot more than that as well. It's just going to keep expanding. So once you open to that, you start to become aware that, like your light community, that the actual, no matter where you are, no matter whether you're by yourself in a house right this moment, if you're listening to this, you have access to that light community. You have access to friends and support, as well as us, way beyond.
And that's exactly it, because that's the power of community, right? It's like, already to think that you're alone is I understand, because I sometimes also feel very alone, especially when I do my my work up there with the etheric realms and I'm bringing it in and the templates and everything. Sometimes I do feel alone. But first of all, then I tell myself, okay, how can I feel alone? Because I'm a community of 50 trillion cells, like my body, it's like how can I feel that? And that's all working together, why is this an eye and this a mouth? And why is, this whole thing is just already a total miracle. I am like already, the fact that I am is already a total miracle, right? So then I just start to move myself like, with kind of a feeling wise back into that feeling of like, I'm not alone. I'm part of the one, the unity and everything. And then I get back. But also can you imagine if I tune into all these different lineages and I say, I do not agree, that then I'm saying that with all of these energies.
With all of them, exactly.
So it's not only like, oh, I'm Hira and I'm living in Egypt, I'm a mother and a wife, and I don't agree. It's not like that. It's like, wait, it's like, they're all saying, I don't, you could even say, we don't agree, and then this counts, this starts counting. And I do it seriously. I'm very vigilant with it. I'm like, whenever, I have friends, I have Russian friends, I have Ukrainian friends, I have like many, and then first of all, I don't watch the news. I don't go into that type of streaming, but when it does come by, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, whether something comes by and I see the images, I'm very vigilant. I'm at the moment that I'm receiving these, because they're coming into my eyes and from my eyes into my heart. And then if I send it back and saying, oh my God, this is happening, I'm not denying it. I'm not saying it's not happening. Clearly, There is a reality out there that is happening, or in here that it's happening. The war is definitely happening at this point. But at the moment that I'm getting the images and I'm getting the waves of it, and it's starting to affect me, that's the moment I say, I do not agree. This is not a reality that I am part of. And not in the sense of that, okay, this is very interesting, because this is what I see in a lot of these New Earth communities. Okay, so let's talk about this, because in a lot of these New Earth communities, they're like, oh, it's just a hoax. Or just saying, oh, look at this program, and somebody actually goes into Ocaine and then makes some kind of little documentary, and he says, you see, there's nothing happening on the streets. Okay, I'm not going for that. I'm not saying like it's not happening and that's it, and that's it. I'm saying, yes, on a certain level, a lot of people, obviously it's happening, that there's no doubt about it. There's a war happening. But in the reality where I live, I do not agree with that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything else. I'm just saying I do not agree with that. What I do agree with, and then I start living, choosing the thoughts, feelings, actions that suit the New Earth, or the reality where there is no more war, where war is just impossible. So it's more like, I'm not denying it, I'm embracing it, and I'm sending my love to people that are in that situation. I'm sending my love to people that are without knowing it. Like, for example, take my mother. She watches television a lot. She believes everything she sees. She's, oh my God, and this and that, and poor people. I'm not saying that what she's doing is right or wrong. I'm just saying that she is putting another layer onto the war by looking at it in a certain way. If you give it like your full-on belief system and saying, oh, and your duality perspective on it, then you're just putting another layer on it, and you're creating more war.
Exactly.
So it's more about like, can I stay in unity consciousness, embrace it, not in the sense of embrace it to make more of it, but embrace it to make less of it. It's a very subtle difference, but it's a very big difference, because that's,
it is a huge difference, because if you consider, and when we're talking about, say, Tara practices, or any of the practices where you actually embody a presence. So if you're doing this, if you consider embodying a presence like Jesus or Tara or any of the great wisdom beings, and then if you then emanate multiple versions of yourself, so you try emanating 4 Taras to assist just what Hira is saying, to assist this whole planetary, anxiety around war. You have to have the balance. You have to have groups of people who say, no, stop. I'm not buying into that reality. I'm going to help shift it. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to emanate, for example, multiple Taras. So now that you've done 4 Taras, now shift into 100 Taras, and let them be the new earth. Let that consciousness come out there and be the compassionate awareness that's here. Be the kindness that's brought to any of the suffering. Be the care that's brought to every child. Be the mothers of compassion that embrace every moment of tension, including your own. And then something shifts. You're suddenly not going, oh my God, look at that, it's shocking, I can't stand that, and you get all angry, which of course is just creating more of more challenge and more suffering. Instead of that, you're actually acting, as you said, you're acting on your own inner reality, and you're actually building on this, just as you said, on the trillions of cells. You're now realizing that you can do the same with your thoughts. You can manifest multiple compassionate mothers of wonder, of awe, of openness, of clarity, of light, of love, of care. And you actually work with that daily. And something completely different happens to reality. People around you start smiling. And if that, the Dalai Lama told me personally, teach 10 to teach 10 to teach 10 to teach 10. If we all do this, if we all do exactly as you say, Hira, that we actually put up a hand and we say, no, stop. We don't want CNN to keep flooding us with these images of of war with no balance. We want CNN to put out news items that are speaking to the tremendous good that we can do by keeping this real positive power and care and kindness and compassion for each other right across. And how to do that. We need wisdom beings on those newscasts, providing a balance to all the anxiety that the news already gives people. At the moment, a lot of the news says things like, this is going to cause you distress, this is going to cause. Well, we also equally need the balance of wisdom news. We want the news that helps people to actually, just as you said, to be able to embrace all of this, to be able to actually to develop a sense of openness and clarity and compassion and wisdom around any situation, so that this has a knock-on effect right throughout the entire planet, so that people start supporting each other to be in, just as you spoke about, be in the wisdom of Lemuria, be in the wisdom of Atlantis, be in the wisdom of all the ancient traditions, draw all of that incredible wisdom and power together, and actually make our planet tick the way that she wants us to walk. She wants us to walk with her. She doesn't want us to walk stripping resources from her and taking and destroying. It's
No.
So we've got to work with that wisdom consciousness. We've got to build now, and the building is not just in technologies and in physical. You've got to start with your thoughts and feelings and perceptions. It starts from, just as you did in that beautiful pointing out of Tara, it starts of embracing the Tara in each one of us, because that Tara consciousness is genuinely a mother of compassion, both a benevolent mother and a wrathful mother. She knows how to actually balance both those. She knows how to embrace all those aspects. So,
yeah, and what's interesting is that I used to use the word wrathful a lot as well, and now I changed it into fierce, because I'm like, she's not wrathful. It's not like a wrathful God like the God of the Christians or the God of the Muslim. It's not wrathful in that sense that she's punishing and going behind you, but it's more like she's fierce. So I like now. Yeah, I'm changing that word. And also another thing is what really comes up is that when we say we embrace, it doesn't mean like, oh, I embrace the war and it can happen. There's like very clear, there's very clear parts where I'm closing the door. So I'm literally like slamming the doors down on duality, not only in myself, but also with certain friends, certain family relationships, certain realities. I'm just like, blah. Door closed, no more. Like that part of drama of like I enjoyed it, I'm not I've been enjoying the duality for sure. I've been using that duality as engine, into like transforming it and just using it basically. So I'm not saying like it's bad and this and that. I'm just saying like, when I look out in the world at the point where we're at now, it's just incredible that there's still a war going on with the 21st century, or that they just like a lockdown where like the poorer get even more poor. Like my husband yesterday, he said, you know how much money, I don't know what's his name, I forget his name all the time, but this guy that has all these satellites up in the air now, it's like, you know how much this money has? And he started to write it down on a paper, and he showed me how much money this person has. And he said, yeah, even if you started before Atlantis and you would collect $10,000 every day, you wouldn't have as much money as the guy has today. We were laughing, with my daughter. We were looking at that number, and we're like, man, I'm just so done. Just literally so done with that reality where the poor get more poor and the rich are only getting more rich.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm just, but it's not like I'm done with this and then putting another layer onto it. It's just like, boring, same old story. I'm just, creating a new earth in that sense. So it's like, and we're embracing, and we're closing doors, and we're opening others. So it's like, it's very and all we can do is just go in the moment. Like, how do I feel about this? How do I deeply, feel? And anyway, I was thinking maybe next time we could do a little meditation or something. Like now it's
Beautiful.
a little long. We will just, I guess we will finish soon here.
Yeah.
But next, maybe we can even start with the meditation and then we talk again or something like that. I think would be very nice for just about this. Like, we can just sit with it and see how we feel, and then you guide a bit and I guide a bit, and then we'll do like a guided meditation together where we can just simply sit with that new earth and just kind of close a few doors, maybe inside of ourselves, maybe to that reality.
I love that. Well, why don't we just, for the last few minutes, I'll just start something and you finish
Okay,
it,
cool.
just to help people center and come to. So if you're listening to, if you're driving, pull over, and if you're at home, just sit back and relax and just rest. And we're going to go into really the basic practices of all ancient traditions, and that is that every experience that we're having right now together can be viewed in the sense of pure source, pure openness to source. And so all we're going to do for just a moment is just rest in that awareness of openness to the purity of source within us, and allow every experience to unfold within this space of pure source awareness. So get comfortable just for a moment. Rest back, really sink back. Sometimes when you just rest and relax, and find a posture that allows you to be relaxed, and check in with your body. Really speak to your body. Say, how are you feeling? Are you relaxed? Speak to those trillions of cells and just make friends with them. You can close your eyes or leave them open, whatever your customary practice is, and just whatever you need to do to just truly surrender. Surrender to the wonderful community and connections that we have with each other, to Mother Earth, to each other here. And if it helps, bring to mind an experience that really helps you to surrender into source. Sometimes it's as simple as just imagining that you're lying in a beautiful grassed area, lying back there, looking up at the beautiful open sky on a warm summer's day. Maybe there's a beautiful breeze caressing your skin, so you really feel into that felt sense of relaxing back, simply relaxing back. So take a few moments to do this and notice how it feels in your body. Just open that heart, open your heart to doing this practice with Hira and I for all sentient beings that you're helping by doing this. You're helping all sentient beings to recognize that they too are source carriers, that they too can recognize the power of this source awareness within them. So I'm going to pass over to Hira to bring this into this finishing stage, this practice.
Yeah, so when you feel, see, sense, when you know that connection with the source, feel, see, sense, or ask source at this moment, just like a child, just very innocently, you ask source to show itself to you in what you could call an image or a dream object or a message or a word or a color or a sound or a smell. Whatever it is, just kind of open yourself and just receive that. So for those that have received an object or a message or a sensation or anything like that, then try to feel, see, sense more into it. Like, for example, I just felt this kind of golden light from my heart, just really simple, beautiful, warm, golden light. So whatever it was for you, you can just kind of intensify it or magnify it by giving it your awareness, giving it your attention. So in my case with the golden light, I'm going to feel deeper into it so that it becomes stronger. So you can do the same. And really allow it to expand. So whatever that symbol is of source bliss, of you being a source bliss carrier, magnify it, expand it by bringing your awareness there. And you're allowing it to expand. So it's not, you're not doing it with your willpower or your, expecting anything or anything like that. You are allowing itself, the source itself, to expand in whatever form or shape it wishes. So it could be that the color of the light changes, or the object changes, or it goes from your body into an emotion, or from the emotion into a thought or a message. You just kind of follow it through, guiding it through in that sense, but you're not doing anything. You're allowing source to do it for you. So you're leaning back into that experience more than trying to produce anything. You're not doing anything. So you're being with that source symbol, allowing source to expand it. And allow source to expand it not only from your own body, but into the human collective. So the human collective is not only the humans on our planet today, but also the humans in the planet of the past and the future timelines, and all the humans living in different parallel realities, different dimensions, different planets. Feel, see, sense how source is expanding itself through you into the human collective, strengthening it with source bliss, empowering it, purifying it, energizing it, charging it with source bliss or source light or source awareness, whatever it is that, whatever is energy that you are resting in right now, it's just allowing it to expand. Okay, then we will finish this meditation just with, you can ask source for any download right now. So you're just asking source, like, can you download into my body, mind, soul system? So that's your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, your ego body, your energy bodies, light bodies, all that you are, your soul, spirit, all these names that we have, like basically your full expanded being up until your higher self. So you just kind of ask source to give you a download, like something you can handle at this moment. You can say, I wish the highest frequency download from source into my system that I can handle with ease and with grace, and that I can manifest instantly in my life today, now, at this moment. And then receive that download in any way it comes to you, whether it's through your senses, whether it's through memory, whether it's through your awareness, whether it's through your physical body, or however it comes to you. Okay, beautiful. So you can continue this. You can just log out or just continue the state where you're in. But if you want to come out and you just flutter your eyes open just slightly and try to not give any meaning, not immediately, to what your eyes are perceiving.
Beautiful. Thanks, Hira. Yeah, truly, if you simply look with the eyes of a child, as you were saying, Hira, that you open your heart to being present, to the freshness and the beauty and the innocence of whatever's present. It's beautiful. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for this wonderful sharing. Because we're truly a collective, right? We're truly a family, a unity, just one heart. So thank you, Hira, and we look forward to doing this again.